Hi, welcome to a next episode of our AI Unscripted series. Today we're going to talk about tax. We're going to talk about the tax function. We're going to talk about an activity that if you look at the list of jobs and functions that are high on the AI listings of functions that could be impacted, is definitely very high, together with accounting for that matter. So for that reason, I am here with Lawrence. Lawrence, you're a director in our, what are you? Part of our tax department. Maybe explaining a bit your background. What have you done before and what are you doing now?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So a decade with PwC in the meantime. Started my career here in our tax and reporting department. So my background actually comes down to accounting and tax compliance. And then over the years I started to grow an interest in how technology can help both the statutory accounting and the tax function. And obviously it's in that regard that I'm here today.
So AI is part of your day-to-day job already today, or?
Absolutely.
Or yes.
I think on the one hand, seeing what it can do internally, what it can do for our clients, bringing it to our clients, trying to inspire them, all that kind of stuff, sure.
And if we talk about AI and we talk about finance functions, also tax, typically people are dwelling a bit between two dimensions. Either it's basically just an efficiency gain, or it's basically enhancing the analysis that people in any event do. Can you explain a bit both and whether they are equally relevant for you today?
Sure. I think both have quite concrete examples. On the efficiency gain, one of the benefits is that AI can work with big amount of data. If you look at the tax function over the past decade, the amount of data has only grown and will only grow in the future. And obviously AI allows to work with big amount of data and hence increase efficiency there, but also accuracy. And I think that comes to your second point. Also there on the accuracy side, on the quality side, we have very concrete examples where AI can support the tax function.
And if you talk about the first dimension, efficiency, getting the thing done, you talk about data points, information that you are using. What type of information is that? Because people may not be into the tax thing. It's not just structured financial data. It's much broader, I guess.
Obviously, it's all kinds of data. I think we typically see it as twofold or with two dimensions. You have AI solutions that can support the day-to-day, where it supports the tax professional in communicating to C-suite, to other stakeholders. There it typically works more with qualitative data, can be structured, unstructured. Then you also have where AI can help the tax professional in the more tax technical aspect of its job, doing research, but also that quantitative angle where it takes certain finance and non-finance data, again structured and unstructured, where it helps to clean the data and then report it in another format.
And so that's then not only Copilot, of course, that people are using, or that you are using, but are you also using Copilot? Is that now the thing, or is it other bespoke solutions that are also used?
Both. I think it's still early days, of course, and what we see is these kind of solutions like Copilot, they're typically invested in organization-wide, which means that the tax function can leverage what other departments in the company are doing. And that's why if you look at today, solutions like Copilot, they're already more spread within the different tax functions. If you look at tax bespoke tools, obviously it's a more narrow area, so the investments are not that far compared to these generic investments, but we see them arising. We see very tax bespoke tools coming up and being used by different companies.
Okay. And so this is something that we're going to touch upon how clients are looking at that in a sec. But first, as an advisor, you're using confidential data, which could be a sensitive topic if you then use open source stuff. I guess that we're not using open source tooling. So how do we deal with that then?
Twofold, I think. On the one hand, there is upskilling, of course. There is making people aware of the risks that are related to AI and making sure that they understand the risks of using open source models. Obviously, you need to set out a framework, you need to create awareness, but you need to minimize the risk that people still do it. That's one thing. And to that side of minimizing risks, and that comes, I think, to the second type of initiatives we're taking. We're investing in that kind of specific tools that are in a ring-fenced environment. I think we have Chat PwC for the more, again, general side of the job, doing communication, etc. But we're also using text-specific tools within a ring-fenced environment, such as Harvey.
So that's all, well, because Harvey is already more than, because that's basically also doing analysis, looking at available data, public and private, to basically get better outcomes and better quality of the analysis. So that's basically the enhancement of the activities that we do. How does that go? How far are we there? Because that's sometimes a bit difficult to quantify. What is the benefit of using then AI and those types of things? Are we already there, or are we still playing around here and there and see what happens?
I guess both. We're obviously still playing around, yet on the other side, if you look at how advanced it is, and maybe for the people that are not in the tax world, Harvey is like the Chat GPT for tax and legal professionals. So it's actually a tool that is built specifically on tax and legal resources. You have a global model, which is very broad, very general, and you feel in the nuances. If you put a prompt in it, you get a tax and legal kind of output. What we're also doing is we're creating a territory model. So that is based on that global model, but enhanced with local knowledge. Belgian legislation, ASC advices, rulings, etc. And there you see the accuracy is going up quite significantly. To give a very concrete example, if you put a text prompt in ChatGPT, and we tried that, the outcome is about 40 to 50% right. It's obviously not something as a tax professional you want to trust. With Harvey in the global model, you see the accuracy going up to 70 to 80%. With the territory model, it can even go further to 90, 95%.
But are you then not cutting the branch that you are sitting on? Because will AI not take over? Or will I not have an interview in maybe even 6 months with a virtual version of yourself?
With a text robot?
Yeah.
I don't think so. And obviously, it's becoming a bit of a well-spread code where Bill Gates said Gen AI is not going to replace the job. People that know Gen AI will. But I see it even more. I think in your second podcast with Peter de Keizer, it was described, or it was compared to the Industrial Revolution. I think it's very similar. I think the rise of Gen AI can be seen as the Industrial Revolution of the knowledge worker. And what I think you see today is knowledge workers are a bit acting as a machine that are processing data. I'm quite convinced that Gen AI will take over part of that. But as we saw with the Industrial Revolution, people will either need to build the machines, so you'll see jobs arising in that kind of work. You need people that know how to work with the machine, and you'll also have a quite niche area where that knowledge is so technical, so specific, that I think AI can replace it, but the investment will be so big that it's better to have it done by human beings. So will it change the tax professional life? Absolutely. Will it replace? I'm not convinced.
And how is it? Because, okay, you've been 10 years now, you said, at the firm. So you are still definitely younger than I am. But we have also people that are younger than you are, so that you are managing on specific assignments. So how easy is it to bring that message across, or are they already far more naturally into the topic? Or are they even scared about AI and basically saying, yeah, I don't want it?
First, thanks for reminding me I'm getting older.
But you're still younger. I will always be younger than I am. So.
No, I think to that question, yeah, you see people that are coming from university and high school,
Yeah.
they know the tools, they know how to use it, and they start to apply it. Does that mean by default that they're not scared? Absolutely not. You see quite some stories popping up of people saying, yeah, could have used it, but I've not done it because I don't want to lose the knowledge, the mindset, the criticism.
Mm.
And I think it's exactly that what you'll need. So yes, it's becoming more widespread, but I think people are quite well aware of how they should use it.
Maybe a question that people might have is, how do we go with that upskilling? Is it the fact that everyone needs to be now the ninja of AI, or is it, yeah, everyone needs to have a base knowledge, and then we're basically going to have a team specialized in it, maybe also an agent and what have you. So are we going for the unified sausage, everyone needs to do the same thing? Or are we going for specialized teams within a general knowledge? What's the strategies that you have?
I think the second option, a bit to the previous discussion, everyone will need a decent level of skills with AI in order to be able to be future-proof. Yet on the other side, yes, we are training specialized teams, and what you see is that for certain solutions, you need very specific skills. You need a bit of IT skills, Python coding, for example. So we are training those types of profiles as well in order to come up with bespoke solutions for clients.
Okay. And if we then take the lens towards, because we are of course an external advisor, many firms have, maybe in smaller scale, but also units that are similar to ours, internal teams, internal tax teams. How have you seen over the 10 years that you are now professionally active, how have you seen that tax function, even before AI came about? How have you seen that evolving, and how did then AI put another dimension on it?
I think you can summarize it in saying change and pressure. If you look over the past decade, tax by design always comes a bit after the fact. Over the past decade, tax needed to catch up with global trends such as digitization, globalization. What you see, for example, is the Pillar 2 kind of rules. That's quite technical. It requires the tax professional to stay up to date in an ever-changing environment at a pace that I think is never seen before.
That's the minimum taxation, huh?
That's the global minimum taxation, which is being implemented in different territories. The implementation territory by territory
sounds
looks
easier
a bit different.
Than it is. Yeah,
and if you go into the details, it indeed becomes quite difficult. So yeah, that change is causing pressure because in the end, the tax professional needs that knowledge and needs that upskilling on that knowledge as a key cornerstone of its profession. If you add to that the fact that data is always growing, that they always need more data, you have another layer of pressure coming into the tax professional life. And then I think you come to technology at a certain point in time, because if you want to cope with all those evolutions and you want to remain competitive as an organization and you do not want to hire a lot of people, I think you need investments in technology to stay up to date.
And how do you then go about the fact that definitely in AI, we don't know what the actual tooling will be that will be used in not even 6 months because it's going so fast. So we typically say, try it out, but fail fast, move to something else. For us, that's relatively easy because, okay, we have volume, we have a network that is also doing the same thing that we can learn from. Of course, as an individual organization, you don't have that necessarily. So how do you see clients go about that? Because if you only have a handful of people, it's difficult to say, try everything out and fail fast.
And I think, unfortunately, we see it going wrong from time to time. Why? Because a lot of organizations are typically thinking about a problem and trying to solve it with a solution, with technology. What we typically advise our clients is take a step back, regardless of the size of your organization, and think about tax technology broad. What do you want tax technology to bring? What is your tax technology strategy? Make sure it's aligned with your corporate strategy, with your tax strategy. And once you have that, you can go one step further, and it's about creating a framework. How are we going to put that strategy in life from a people perspective, from a process perspective, from a technology perspective? And within that process perspective, you have this governance layer, I would say, where we advise on how to stay up to date with evolutions. And that can be, on the one hand, by talking internally to the IT department, to the finance department. That can also be talking to external advisors, such as PwC, who are seeing a lot of things in the market. They have the volume, they see a lot of other cases, and they can keep you informed about the latest evolutions. And those then allow you to try fast, fail fast, with very specific tools or solutions.
But the main point from the start is then asking why you are using technology, why you want to use or you are using AI. It's not just because the rest is doing it that you're also going to use AI. Is that not, because that's going back to the beginning of the session where we talked about, okay, either it's an efficiency gain or it's developing new offerings, also for a client achieving growth. That's a fundamental question, of course, because the inroad is different if you're going for efficiency or for growth. And also the strategy around it, the team that you compose around it, is fundamentally different, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite sure it is, because again, that's the main question you need to think about. What do I want to do with it? To your point, not just because the rest is doing it, I also need to do it. You need to have a clear strategy in mind before implementing any tool or solution.
So fear of missing out is not a good strategy or a good reason to do it. Yeah.
But obviously you see the rest doing it, and that makes you aware that there is something in this. Otherwise, not the whole economy, not the competition would be doing it. But again, just doing it because they are doing it, no, that's probably not the right mindset.
Yeah. You're part of a team that is not only focusing on the big multinationals, with maybe a decision center in Belgium or not, but you're also, of course, focusing on the more Belgian-based market. Belgium is, to a large extent, an SME-driven economy, where again size is different. Do you see a difference and adaptation between the bigger multinationals, maybe with deeper pockets, and then the SMEs that have a different profile, different strategy? And is that not a competitive disadvantage for them in the long term?
But obviously you're right, to the sense that budget is an important one in this one. Can be an advantage for the bigger ones, can be a disadvantage for the more SME market. Yet there are other advantages to being smaller, typically to the learn fast, fail fast principle, to being agile. That helps them to try out more things and to, in another way, come faster to a very efficient solution, which is typically more difficult in this bigger environment. So is it really a disadvantage holistically seen? I don't think so. Both has their advantages.
And it's also the way of implementing AI is then also scalable. So I think it's also, because it's not because you are a smaller organization that you have, by definition, a choice not to jump on it. So indeed also scalability, not going on everything, focus a bit more. That's probably the solution of that clients need to adapt.
And you can do different things. You can look at small processes, the so-called low-hanging fruit, where you can easily identify return on investment with limited investment. You can also look at the big shots, which typically require a bigger investment, might have a bigger impact, but still to be seen in practice. So I think for every type of organization, there are options and solutions out there.
And then maybe if you think wild, we'd already touched upon the fact that you are convinced that you're not going to be obsolete in the near future. But that of course means that we need to have a tax profession that is sufficiently critical. that goes hand in hand with how do you go about with uncertainty. Nothing is certain. AI tends to be rational. Tax is not always rational. We have the US with quite some new stuff popping up quite often, if not on a daily basis. Can AI help there and at least trying to reduce that uncertainty by doing maybe scenario analyses that are a bit more complicated if you just do that manually? Yeah.
Absolutely, it can function as a sparring partner. A concrete case we recently had was to Harvey, using Harvey, where a client was in a very specific situation. And the first question, what is, legally speaking, the right solution? And then you start questioning the tool and it comes up with what is, legally speaking, the right solution. But that there are a few nuances, there are a few other options. And then we also used the tool to spar around the other solutions, like if you would go for that route, what would be the advantages, what would be the disadvantages, what are the counter arguments from a legal perspective. So definitely yes, it can be used to reduce uncertainty, think through different scenarios, think through different options, etc.
And that is something that you see clients also using? That type of
Not yet, but I think that's our role, to upskill our clients, and that's typically what we do with these clients as well. You have the tool and you can implement the tool, but the next step is how are you going to use it, and that's where we typically come into play, general upskilling, use case creation, that kind of stuff to make sure they get the most out of it.
Okay, maybe a last topic I want to address. It's the convincing people to really do it, to really use it. We have captured the AI flag, which is a bit of a gamification. You've done it.
Yep.
Can you explain what it is? And because we also see certain enterprises, companies also using it now. So what is it now really?
Well, I think you summarized quite well with gamification. It's a game you play, so there is this competitive element, and you need to resolve certain challenges with different AI tools. We even made a tax-specific version of it for the tax professional. So it allows you, by playing game with colleagues, to understand how you can use AI in your day-to-day job.
Okay. And you liked it. You were convinced.
Absolutely. I like the competitive element, and it's with AI, so it was a perfect match.
And then really before we close, because time is running out, if you basically would have been now at university and you see everything happening, why would you still go for a job in tax?
Because I'm still convinced, as I said before, that there is a future in tax. Is it going to look differently? Absolutely. But I like how it's evolving, and I would still go the tax route in order to be in this journey of change.
Okay, super, thank you. And that's all we have time for today. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you soon in another version of AI Unscripted. Thank you, bye-bye.